Here's how I quit my 9 to 5 day job of doom through tax deed investing and buying super cheap properties. You know, back in the day, I was a miserable oil rig worker. I was tapped out, living in my parents' basement, spending more money than I made. I had all the toys, all the trappings of the material world. However, I knew that this was going to lead me to a place of being broke, over leveraged, and away from my family. So I decided to get into real estate, and I chose tax deed investing as my vehicle to do it. And I want to share with you guys here today the steps that I took to exit the oil field, exit the oil rig, and really live a life of freedom and adventure through real estate, which is what it provided to me, and way beyond my wildest dreams, which is pretty cool. So like if you're watching this and maybe real estate piques your interest, but you don't know kind of where to do it or where to start, maybe you can take away a few tips as far as what I did, because I was buying such cheap properties. Like I was buying property for as little as $50 worth thousands of dollars. And when I first heard about tax lien and deed investing, I'm like, man, this sounds like a scam. It sounds too good to be true. Like if it works so good, why isn't everybody doing it, right? However, when I started to peel back the onion, I realized that it was a legitimate business. Now, just like anybody, I had my hurdles. My girlfriend at the time was against me. My family was against me. I was a successful oil rig worker, and I was also starting my apprenticeship for welding. And when I told people that I wanted to get into real estate, I thought they'd be happy for me and cheering for me. However, it was just the opposite. Everybody was like, oh, it's kind of risky. I don't know about that business. Sounds a little bit fishy, right? And one of the mistakes I made was like I was, super excited. It's like anything. When you're excited, you start talking about it to people. However, one of the mistakes that I made was I wasn't quite educated on the topic yet. So smart people would ask some questions and I wouldn't quite know how to answer it. So I didn't sometimes, maybe I didn't sound the smartest when explaining it. However, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And one of the things that happened is I was working on the oil rig one night. And it was like springtime. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with oil rigs, but it was springtime. The ground started to get soft. The oil rig tilted a little bit. And these things called the blocks that put the pipe in the ground shifted. And this thing malfunctioned and like 10,000 pounds of metal came crashing down to where I was standing. I jumped out of the way, friggin' scratched my face up on the grating on the oil rig, and I'm like, man, this is bad. I don't know if I like this job anymore. And that was really it. That night, as I was like cleaning the mud off my face and the blood in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, I got to do something about this. So, I started reading more books on real estate, and I signed up for a tax lien and deed seminar. And